Well, good afternoon and good morning. Welcome to the Charlie Mike webinar series hosted by the National Veterans Small Business Coalition. Thank you for joining us today. I'd like to thank BAE Systems and Philips North America for sponsoring this webinar series. There's one announcement, and it's a big one. We are 1 week away from MIKE'22 in Orlando, Florida. If you haven't made your arrangements, please do so this week. We have a record number of government agencies attending this conference next year. This is like the biggest we ever had. We have about 460 attendees this year, and we probably get up to 500 by the end of the week. So if you're going to join us, please do so. Okay, this webinar is an hour and 15 minutes. The webinar is being recorded, and the recording and slides will be sent to all attendees by Friday. If you have any questions during this webinar, please type it on the right hand of your screen on the control panel. And you guys should know me by now. I'm Earl Morgan. I am the program director for the NVSBC, and I'd like to welcome my good buddy, Quarry, and Scott Eberle from U.S. General Services Administration, GSA. They will talk to you today about category management and GSA schedules. So I'm going to pass the mic over to Quarry, and we will get started.
Great. Thank you so much, Earl. Can anybody hear me okay?
Yes, we can.
All right, great. All right.
You should have controls any second now.
Sure.
There you go.
1 second here. Can anybody see National Veterans Small Business Coalition GSA presentation showing up on their screen?
Yes, it's
awesome.
on the screen.
Right. Cool, it worked. All right, great. Well, thank you for the introduction, Earl. It's great to be back here again. Returning again. I mean, last year I came to give a little brief about Services MAC, GSA's newest professional services, newest greatest thing. I'm here today with my colleague Scott Eberle, and we're here to talk just to give you kind of a brief on what's going on in the professional services realm when it comes to our specific portfolio, the professional services human capital portfolio. I'm going to present on a little bit about category management. The Services MAC team also came and requested that I do give a quick brief on what's going on with Services MAC. Then Scott is going to go jump in and actually talk about the Schedules program, a really robust presentation of what's going on with schedules. And then these presentations are not going to take the whole time. That's why we wanted to really come out here and talk with the audience itself. Please have any questions for us, please send them to Earl. Put them in the chat. That's what we're here for. We really want to information exchange with our audience to see, what we can improve, what's working, and any collaborations we can do in the future. But with that, I'll go ahead and get started with my portion of the presentation. With that introduction, thank you, Earl. My name is Quarry. I'm with the Professional Services Human Capital Portfolio under the GSA. And I'm a supplier relationship management specialist. What essentially that means is that I do outreach with industry, talk to them about what's going on currently in our portfolio, and try to hear industry and try to make improvements of what we can to really help them navigate through the acquisition process. Because GSA, we really understand that it can be difficult with all the resources out there, and I'm here trying to kind of bridge that gap between government and industry themselves. So today I'm going to go ahead and give a quick presentation on category management. Here's an agenda, a quick introduction. Then I'm going to give an update on category management. And what does that mean? I'm going to give a quick overview of category management. It was implemented within the government 4 years ago. I don't want to bore the entire audience with going through the entire category management initiative and things like that. So I'm going to give kind of brief highlights on that. Then I'm going to actually talk about an update to category management, which is very focused on this audience here, and I think you will really like it. Then I'm going to go ahead and give a quick update on Services MAC and what's going on with that. So with that, let me get a little brief on what category management is and just give a little overview for some of the people in the audience that don't know what category management is. So main thing here is goals, right? It's to deliver savings, values, and efficiency, eliminate those contract redundancies out there, multiple contracts that can do the same thing. We want to eliminate that, try to save the taxpayer's dollar. And then, of course, one of the big things is to meet the small business goals of the government. That's one of the main initiatives of category management, is to really promote those small businesses out there and to really help them focus to grow, not only to get acquisitions, but, become, those mid-tier and hopefully essentially those large businesses. Of course, category management is talked about in senses of tiers of spend, including best in class. And I'll go more into those tiers of spend further in this presentation. And of course, category management is really run with a lot of data and success metrics. So we take a lot of the information that we do gather from these acquisitions under category management. And we also have a lot of tools available out there that our customer agencies can use. But not only that, our industry partners can also use for, to do market research in certain areas. So there's a lot of tools that are associated with category management that gives our customers, our industry partners, a lot of ways to look for opportunities and also to put opportunities out there also. So I mentioned tiers of spend in that previous slide there, and I want to talk about how category management and tiers of spend work, right? So first off, you have tier 0. So the two bullets kind of explain what tier 0 contracting is. So contracting dollars not fitting into any other tier, which is kind of self-explanatory, right? And then what that essentially means is in the contracting world, that is like a Part 15 contract, right? It's not necessarily a contract that's kind of created from the ground up. It's not necessarily on any kind of other contracting vehicles. It's usually only good for one procurement at a time and things like that. If you want to know more information on category management and how it kind of is integrated into the government, please, you'll see that link on that slide, OMB M-22-03. That's a clickable link. It will take you to the original memo that kind of introduced category management into the government, and it'll give you more explanation on what category management is. Like Earl said, this slide deck will be available to you on Friday. So all the links within the slide deck, you can go ahead and click on and do further research if you'd like. Tier 1 is actually an agency-wide solution, and we're talking about like Air Force, NetSense, those type of contracts. That essentially means it's like a multi-use contract, but that specifically agency can only use it for certain products and things like that. So it is kind of established IDIQ, but it's kind of restrictive on how they can use it. But under the category management principles, we're trying to move all that spend out of tier 0 to 1, 2, and 3. So tier 1 contract is very viable when it comes to category management. A tier 2 contract, an example of that is what Scott Eberle is going to be talking to today, is a schedules contract. So it's a multi-agency solution. So unlike tier 1, any agency can use this solution. And then, it's a established IDIQ, and it has different kind of established, NAICS and things like that. You can do professional services under that. You can buy products and things like that. So it's a multi-agency solution, and that's what a tier 2 is. Now, tier 3 is a best-in-class contract, and that kind of represents, especially in GSA, is our OASIS contract. The main distinguisher, I would say, between a best-in-class tier 2 and a tier 3 is that prices paid data is really collected on a best-in-class contract, and also a lot of other data also. So that's why it kind of gives it kind of a higher level, because that extra level of data is collected within that contract. So, and there's a lot of talk about, well, contractors have to, be in a best-in-class contract just because of the connotation of the name best-in-class, but that is not necessarily the case, as I'm going to show you in these next couple slides here. So, we are originally established the category management principles within the government, and that happened about maybe 4 years ago. So recently, there was just an update done on December 2nd, 2021, which actually updates that original memo. So what did this update do? Well, this update really focused it on small business, especially those socioeconomic small businesses, as you can see by these revisions and updates here. So as in the previous slide, to get any kind of tier 2 credit, the government agency would have to purchase off of that particular contract and bill, whether it be a schedule or whatever kind of other contract and vehicles is designated tier 2. But with this recent update, so any kind of small business that an agency awards to, whether it be a socioeconomic one specifically, an 8A, an SDB, WOSB, SDVOSB, which is very focused on this group here on the audience, and also a HUBZone, will also get that tier 2 credit no matter how that contract is awarded. It doesn't matter what tiers of spend. So for example, if say a government agency puts out an acquisition on a tier 0 where they created the contract from the ground up, and they actually award it to one of these 8A, SDB, WSOB, SDVOSB, they will actually get tier 2 credit for that. They will not get the tier 0. So all that spend that comes under, and then it doesn't matter what contract, as long as they designate one of those socioeconomic small businesses, they will get that tier 2 credit. So that really benefits, kind of opening up the gates for more acquisitions for SDVOSBs and things like that, because agencies don't have to really concentrate themselves on a particular tier, whether it be 1, 2, and 3. They can also open up that tier 0 area and also get tier 2 credit for it. So it kind of works, it's beneficial for both the agency and also small businesses, because it's introducing more business to those socioeconomic small businesses. Another revision and update is to actually implement category management plans within the plans of agencies themselves. Each year an agency has to update their category management plan, but now they actually have to have socioeconomic responsibilities with those plans. Those plans are reviewed yearly, and usually they put in some metrics for themselves to reach those. So now that those socioeconomic metrics are put in those, they have to kind of abide by those, and then those kind of things will be put in their yearly plans. So there'll be more agencies will be more responsible for, getting more business with socioeconomic companies and things like that, because now it's actually within their category management plans that are updated on a yearly basis. And I did mention this, the third update here, kind of briefly on the previous slide, best in class. We're not out here now to really emphasize that best in class is the #1 solution that all industry partners need to get on that. Any kind of solution at this point when it comes to, especially for SDVOSBs and those socioeconomic type of small businesses, works. As you can see, even if it's on a tier 0 type of contract that one of those SDVOSBs gets awarded, they get the tier 2 credit. So we're no longer making best in class as the one solution that all industry partners get on, that is the best. All the solutions when it comes to tiers will work. Whatever works best for our customer agencies and our small business partners also. So there's no longer an emphasis on being best in class. Whatever solution works best for you, we can work with you with that. And then also the SBA and the Department of Conference, which includes the Minority Business Development Administration, are actually recognized as voting members on the Category Management Leadership Council. Previously they were not, but now they actually have input. So any kind of changes to category management, they will have a voice in. So if it does not fare well to their membership or the individuals they represent, then they can have a voice and say, hey, that's not working for us, let's see. Or they can actually bring new ideas to the table and say, hey, let's implement these ideas into our national category management plans and actually help our businesses out there, especially our small businesses. So that wraps up the services MAC, that wraps up the category management update portion of my presentation. Now I'm gonna give you a quick, kind of switching gears here, but I'm gonna give you a quick update on our services MAC, kind of our new big IDIQ that's coming out here hopefully in the next year. As you can see with the services MAC goals, it's a scalable contract that includes a broad range of services. We want highly qualified contractors on there, better competition, and we're hopefully implementing systems within this new IDIQ that it's easier for industry to use, helps them market themselves better and things like that. With this, just to give you a little background, the Services MAC can be considered maybe a follow-on to the OASIS contract, which ends in 2024. But it's not a direct follow-on because the scope and the domain of the Services MAC is going to be much wider, and there's going to be some little changes here and there. So while it's not a direct successor to the OASIS contract, it does hold some things fairly similar to the OASIS contract, which is expiring in 2024. So I just want to give you a couple of highlights of what really recently is going on with the Services MAC. We did a customer survey on December 10th with over 200 responses. It really helped us define Services MAC and what might work with this future IDIQ, and what hasn't worked with our OASIS and even our Schedules program. And then draft scope was actually released on December 14th. And I want you to really take a look at those highlighted links there. That will take you to actually our Interact page. And if you haven't already, you can actually register there on Interact, and it will give you the most up-to-date updates on Services MAC. It actually has its own page dedicated to it. You can look at past updates. So if you haven't already, I highly recommend once you do obtain this slide deck, click on that Interact link. Please register, and you can get all the updates that I'm talking about Services MAC handy to you right there. And then the third bullet, probably most important to the audience of this, the audience here, is the sharing of the draft evaluation criteria with the industry. So that is actually on the website right now. You can take a look at that. It gives you an idea of what the draft criteria is going to be for the Services MAC, so it can kind of get you prepared on what you need to get kind of together, organization-wise and everything like that. I do want to emphasize it is a draft, so there could be some changes here and there, but mostly I believe they have most of the important information about what the evaluation criteria is contained in that draft. So take a look at that if you're interested in actually maybe possibly obtaining a contract on the future Services MAC contract. You can get prepared by looking at that draft criteria. So the next steps here we have for Services MAC is finalizing the acquisition strategy, which is the 876 deviation, which is essentially means that we're not requiring actually pricing at the master contract level. So this is kind of a new thing for this contract, is that no pricing, we're trying to work on no pricing required as an evaluation criteria at the master contract level. Of course, we're still looking at the period performance. We're trying to make it as lengthy as we can with this one. And of course, we're trying to figure out how to make this a continued open solicitation. We want to have the opportunity for industry partners that weren't able to make it on the first time to be able to come in when they're ready, whenever they are. We don't want to have, with our OASIS program, we had open seasons, which, only ran maybe once or twice within the whole life of the contract. We want to keep this continuously open. So when a contractor maybe not initially prepared to actually put an offer when the solicitation first opens, but maybe a couple months or a year down the road, when they are ready, they have the opportunity to actually go in and put in an offer. And then of course the free structure of how we're going to put in for our agencies when they actually use this contract vehicle. And of course, another important highlight for this is the small business strategy of this IDIQ. Of course, I want to emphasize everything is proposed, but this is most likely the direction that we're going. So it's going to have a total of all these different separate contracts here. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 separate contracts. So it's going to have a one all unrestricted one. Then of course it's going to have a total small business, 8A HUBZone, service disabled veteran-owned small business, which is very important to this audience here. And then of course women-owned small businesses. So it's going to have multiple different small businesses to show that the contractors can actually put set-asides for a designated socioeconomic group when they actually put a task order on this contract. So just a quick Services MAC timeline. So we're past FY 21, market research, everything is done. We're in the FY 22 phase right now. So probably most important to everybody on that is when the final RFP is released. So we wanted to put FY23. There's no specific like first quarter, second quarter, just so we have some room just to anticipate if we need to, you know, push it out or even maybe move it forward a lot quicker. So definitely look for the final RFP coming up in FY23. And if you actually register for the Interact page, you should have the first information when it does come out, when the final RFP will be released. So other than that, I'm going to pass it out to my colleague here, Scott Eberle, and he's going to talk about our professional services human capital schedules program. He's got a lot of great information. So here you go, Scott.
Thanks, Bounce. And just a quick mic check.
Oh, sound great. Can hear you.
All right, perfect. Thanks. And thanks to Earl at the MBSBC for inviting us to this opportunity to talk on Charlie Mike. So I am Scott Eberle, Program Manager at Professional Services and Human Capital. Ultimately, I'm responsible for driving the strategy, new initiatives, and strategic engagement with both our customer agencies and our industry partners. So today, I'm just going to talk a little bit about what's on those schedules that we have, some stats and how they relate to the audience here with VOSBs and SDVOSBs, some new SINs and opportunities that we have out on those schedules, and then some resources to potentially make us a little bit better. Ultimately, the idea here is to educate our industry partners to either want to join us on the schedules, or if you're already on the schedules, how to make you a better partner with us and our customer agencies. So with that, I will move forward. Bounce. So here we have ultimately on our multiple award schedule of professional services, we have 49 different SINs or special item numbers. Those are basically aligned to our NICS codes, and you can kind of see here on the right-hand side what those 49 SINs are. If you're already on schedule, you might be a little bit aware of the SINs. Over the last couple of years, we've transitioned from unique identifiers for those SIN labelings to now, again, being aligned to individual NICS codes. So you'll see things like 541, 611 being directly aligned to consulting and program management, because that's how that NICS code is defined. And so looking at the 49 different NICS codes on the right-hand side there, even if you are on schedules, I highly encourage you to take a look and see are all of the NICS codes that you have on your SAM registration, as well as the areas that you perform work on, found on your schedule if you're already on there, or if you're looking to get on schedule, that you would take a look and see how many of these different areas and industries and marketplaces that you could potentially compete in. As you can see on the left-hand side, I like to look at the OCONUS just for a different view on things. The CONUS map is a little bit more bland, as we see, major buying centers out of the New York Eastern Board, Virginia area, Texas, DC, and then some areas out in California and Washington. But as you can see here, for those who kind of have a bigger view or bigger spectrum, all these orange dots and the growth of those dots demonstrate sales that are happening at those locations underneath our schedules program. So for those that might be currently working within the CONUS world, that's awesome, and there's a lot of great things happening there. But as you can see, from an OCONUS viewpoint, there's still a lot of growth in areas to be captured, especially within the agencies of DoD, which continues to expand. Commerce, State, USAID, and a few others are really continuing to grow and leverage the schedules program outside of CONUS. Bounce. So why does this information that we're talking about today really matter to you? Well, I like to say because schedules are generally powered by small. As you can see here, out of the 4,600 or so contractors that we have under the MASS PS program, 3,730 of them are small business. Of that, you can see here 925 VOSBs and 635 SDVOSBs. With a $12 billion 3-year revenue growth, we're seeing about 6.7, almost 7% being captured by the SDVOSBs and 11% out of VOSBs. So if you're on schedules, you're part of that. If you're not, you can see that there is a lot of opportunity. $12 billion goes a lot of different directions, and those partners are really helping us help our customer agencies be more efficient and effective at getting after their requirements. For those that aren't necessarily familiar or want a refresher on schedules, what is it? It's a FAR Part 8.4 based program. It is solely commercial, but it does allow for CONUS and OCONUS work, as I demonstrated on the other slide there. Firm fixed price, time and material, labor hour, or a combination of those are all allowed underneath the schedules program. And if you have a contract now, or if you're looking to get a contract, they are 20-year contracts. They come with a 5-year base period with 3 different 5-year options. And you would be required to have the ceiling prices to a price list. And what those ceiling prices mean is just that's the maximum you're allowed to charge for your particular layers. Obviously, underneath professional services, we focus mostly on services, but supplies are offered by some of our other portfolios and fellow divisions within GSA. And I'll go over a couple of these other items on the next slide. But as you again, just to kind of reiterate, the large majority of our industry partners are small businesses, and they are making an impact, including specifically to this audience, the SDVOSBs and VOSBs. Go ahead, Bounce. So over the last couple of years, we've been trying to expand our offerings. And so as I mentioned, 49 SINs, really trying to look at what those NICS codes are, where those industry bases are happening, where maybe sales are happening that GSA was not poised to get after. And some of the areas that we found was in the engineering and R&D world. So back in November of 2020, we added a bunch of new ones, specifically trying to make it easier for our customer agencies to identify industry partners who are capable of performing this work, as well as expanding out industry areas or marketplaces for industry, for our customer agencies to get after. Some of those areas were in the R&D 541, 713, 714, and 720, as well as some offshoots from the environmental remediation and the engineering side. As you can see here, these are the 6 SINs that we added back in November of 2020. And on the right-hand side are the number of industry partners for SDVOSBs and VOSBs that are currently found on eLibrary in those particular SINs. So if you go down the list there, only under the environmental remediation is there any SDVOSBs or VOSBs even enrolled. So if this is a particular marketplace that you might be able to perform in, I highly recommend you taking a look. And if you already have a schedule, do an add SIN and add yourself into that particular marketplace. Or if you're not on schedules and are looking to get on schedules, identifying if any of these particular areas of market or industry place would be a good fit for you in a niche worth you pursuing. With only 19 SDVOSBs and 22 VOSBs, that's not a huge competition, and obviously it's 0 across the rest of it. And as a reminder, under schedules, while FAR 19 requirements of set-asides aren't required, they are allowed and authorized for our customer agencies to use. So if there are 3 industry partners in those SINs, the customer agencies can do set-asides and get directly at you. Okay, Bounce, thanks. And then back in August of 2021, we added these other 2 SINs, the 524292 insurance, which is for basically claims medical claim billing coding, as well as 541990, which is a other professional services SIN that kind of really captures a lot of the professional services that doesn't necessarily fall neatly in any other existing SINs or NICS codes. Specifically, we see areas like intelligence analysts, tactical exercise support for DOD and DHS and a few other agencies, emergency preparedness work happening there, things like that that really kind of fall within or don't fall neatly in other SINs, but are considered a professional service. And then we did adjust the hazardous waste disposal service, the 562112, to be more specific about allowing for regulated waste, pharmaceutical waste and low-level radiological waste to be removed. We went after these particular ones to start with, and based on what we were seeing over where money was moving, with the 524292 insurance and the billing coding, Target customers there, VA, HHS, IHS with Indian Health Services, and DOD with DHA, all have these particular services along with a few other agencies with a general market space of about 406 million. This was a space that just wasn't really being captured because we didn't have this well defined. And again, you can see on the right-hand side there, as of about 4 months ago, I did not have any SDVOSBs and VOSBs enrolled in this particular SIN. With 541990, this is an annual market space of about $9.8 billion. 9.8 billion is the annual marketplace, and that's not a typo. USAID, Energy, HHS, every DOD department, DOT, DOJ, DOC, they are all using 541990. Again, sometimes it's because they can't figure out exactly where their particular requirement is falling in the other NICS codes available under professional services. Sometimes it's CO's determination of they don't feel like it fits neatly or correctly in any other NICS code, so they default to this one to catch it all. Whatever the reason may be, $9.8 billion is going through that particular NICS code on an annual basis. And again, currently there are 0 SDVOSBs or VOSBs enrolled. And then lastly, with that hazardous waste disposal, a little bit smaller marketplace, but again, trying to really help our customer agencies by providing this consistent service of disposal with our VAs, EPA, DOT, FDA, DEA, with that regulated waste, medical pharmaceutical waste, and a very small percentage or showing, again, by the SDVOSBs and VOSB communities. So a lot of room to grow, a lot of opportunity out there. And again, these are all annual numbers on a trend line over the last few years. And if I'm speaking too fast, feel free to type a chat. I know we'll take questions at the end too, but for now, I'll just keep moving on. And lastly, so this is the last slide here, but just some notes to kind of throw out there, some resources. And again, as Bounce and Earl have mentioned, you'll get these resources or slide deck around Friday. But some areas that we're currently looking at within professional services, always looking for new ways to kind of expand, go after gaps in our offerings, expand our capabilities. Right now, I am working through expanding out our space capabilities. Have about 6 space contractors that are doing rideshare, satellite launches, etc. Language translation services. This might be an area for this particular community. For those that have served definitely overseas, language translation is all the components of it. So verbal, written, any kind of training associated with language, as well as all the role players that many of us experienced during some kind of exercise. So whether it was DOD, DHS, those role players that were in those training events also fall under our language translation SINs. And we're trying to continue to expand that out and make sure that it's well known. Research and development, as I mentioned earlier, we've added a few SINs so far, continuing to look at what other areas and SINs, as well as educating our customer agencies on how to use those much better so that we can bring that spend up underneath our tier 2 vehicle here. Emergency and disaster recovery, I highlighted that because there is a link to that as well. Not only is it a great service that we offer underneath our SINs, but state and local during a declared disaster or emergency state, such as what COVID was over the last few years, allows our state and local communities to also purchase off schedules. And there's a hyperlink there to not only the rules, but also a little bit of a flyer to hand out. So again, state, local, and travel during times of declared emergency or disaster can purchase off the schedules program, either as a preventive measure to disaster, a rehabilitation to disaster, or in reaction to a disaster. So those 3 components, and that hyperlink will take you to more information. And then lastly, grant management service is kind of a big one right now. So start to finish, this falls a lot more into the 541611 and acquisition support as well, program management. But we're seeing a lot of spending, a lot of funding come out of Congress right now and being pushed to agencies, and they're needing assistance on managing that and helping to distribute, as well as define policies, regulations, issuing, dispersing, managing, and accounting for all that funding. Some different tools to kind of consider if you're on schedules, or if you're thinking about getting on schedules, how to develop out more business opportunities. Blanket purchase agreements are a great way to really help our customer agencies design ways to get after continuous ordering without having to go through the acquisition pipeline over and over and over. FAR 51 is another great tool that's relatively underutilized. This is when a open market IDIQ has been awarded. That sounds counterintuitive to the schedules program, but the reality is that the contracting officer can actually allow an open market IDIQ under a cost reimbursement basis. They can allow that contractor to actually purchase off of the schedules program in order to be more efficient with their spending. So even if we don't get the IDIQ, we can always support the IDIQ contractor by providing our services and supplies off of schedule to support that overarching contract. Order level materials has been added. There was currently an ordering guide that has been published as well, and this is really allowing us to have a little bit more parity with those IDIQs and open market contracts by allowing our customer agencies to get after items that they may have forgotten under their initial solicitation, or that were not available underneath the schedules that you had. So they are able to get after open market items up to 33% of their overall contract value. And again, all these hyperlinks will take you to more information once you get the information, get the slide deck. And then contract teaming arrangements are the GSA's version to a joint venture. So they're not a legal entity, but they do allow two small businesses to come together, or more, two or more small businesses to come together to create a single entity in order to create a total solution to go after larger requirements. Some other notes out here on the right-hand side to kind of throw out there. My office does have a team of folks who are available to assist our customer agencies. So if you're out there talking to your potential customers doing business development, and they have a statement of work or are trying to figure out if their particular requirement may or may not fit underneath the schedules program, that professional services at gsa.gov is consistently monitored, and we're happy to respond. So if the customer agency sends us the statement of work, we'll take a look and let them know if it fits underneath the schedules and where it falls. So it's all free service. So as you're out there talking to your customers, feel free to throw that out there. Additionally, we do have training for both our customers as well as for industry partners. You can see the link there. There's a lot of stuff going on that you can just sign up for, kind of hear some stuff both from our contracting officers, our program office, and some other unique learning opportunities. And again, it's all free. We also have a bunch of additional videos posted that are educational and kind of how-tos, both on how to craft your acquisition strategies, as well as how to interpret some of the items on our schedules. And lastly, those procurement packages. We've put together templates of IGCEs, statements of work, samples, DNFs associated with various different types of requirements that fall within the scopes of our various SINs. Those tools are for both you as the industry partners as well as for your customers to understand how to use and leverage our products and our services a lot better. And again, it's all free for use. And lastly, just kind of as a public service announcement for those that are on our schedules, I'll emphasize a couple quick notes here. Please check your admin POC contact information within SRP, the sales reporting portal, to make sure that it's accurate. When we send out notes, when we send out modifications, updates, that's where it's going. So please make sure that that individual is accurate and updated. Please make sure that your price list is updated on the eLibrary website. As a note, not only does it deter our customers from using your service and ultimately using GSA if they don't see your price list, because that's what they're coming to expect. But when the customer does post their solicitation out on eBuy, if your price list is not posted, you will not receive a notification and be able to see that solicitation. So it is a term and condition of your contract to have it posted, and it's preventing you from seeing potential opportunities if it's not. And lastly, check your NICs. Like I mentioned, we have 45 SINs. That's a whole lot of NICS codes. Validate, compare, contrast what you've registered in SAM and see that if you've registered for all the appropriate SINs and NICS codes that you can perform work. The more that you're able to perform in and have registered for, the more opportunities you'll see and the better opportunity you have to build your business. And with that, that wraps up my notes and information, and I would love to hear whether chat or from Earl on comments that come in or questions that come in, how we could better partner with you guys as the VOSB, SDVOSB community.
Okay, great. Bounce, Scott, thank you so much for doing this presentation. I really appreciate you guys. I know you, it's early up in Washington where you guys are at. So again, I appreciate both you getting up early and doing this presentation for us. So with that being said, we do have one question that came in during the presentation. This is from Norris Millington. He writes, how much time does it take to add an SIN to an existing MAS schedule?
So as you'll see, when you're doing an add SIN mod to your schedule, you're going to be required to both justify that you're capable of performing, as well as if you need to make any adjustments to your existing price list. And that there's no exact timeline, but I will say on average, our modifications are going at about 90 days. So that's generally where we're at right now, is about 90 days, depending on the information that's submitted as part of that add SIN.
Okay, we're waiting for some more questions to come in. And before some questions come in, I'd like to again plug in Vets 22 in Orlando, Florida next week. On a personal note, I am making my return to Vets 22. As some of you might know, I suffered a stroke the morning of Vets 21, and I didn't attend the conference last year. And while I was up in rehab, one of my goals is to make Vets 22, because I don't want none of you remember me that way. So I got my plane ticket. I got clear to travel. So I will be in Orlando, Florida next week. So I'm going to send a link to the conference. And if you could join us, please do so. And so I could say a personal thank you for all those flowers and cards and words of encouragement while I was in rehab, and to say thank you. And since Norris is on the line here, I'd like to thank Norris, who recognized some of my symptoms during Vets 21, and he helped call emergency services to get me to the hospital. And another friend is online, Cynthia Miracle, who, when I went out, she made sure my family was taken care of, and when they came to Florida, she definitely took care of them. So thank you both for helping me out during that crazy time. But I can move my right arm again. I'm back. I'm able to dance. So so I get to shake some hands and see you all next week. Let's see any other questions. Norris writes, looking forward to see you, Batman. So so we're waiting on some more questions.
Hey, Scott,
if anybody has anything.
A question for you. If a contractor was interested in adding a SIN or just getting on schedule itself, what would be the easiest way for them to be able to do that?
I'd say the easiest way right now is probably to email me, and I will point you to a bunch of links in the information on how to get educated, and then we can go from there.
Okay. All right, we got a few more seconds here for you to ask some questions.
And we understand that, yeah, in this forum, questions might come up, but if you do have something that does come up later on down the road, Earl is welcome to share our contact information with the audience. So anything pops up later in your mind, feel free to go ahead and reach out to either Scott or I.
Okay. We're still waiting on some questions. We look like people are being shy today. We're making the travel arrangements to Vets 22 next week. Okay. Well, there's no questions. Again, Bounce, Scott, thank you so much for joining me this early in the morning. And like again, the presentation and this recording will be sent to all attendees this Friday. So check your email for, oh, we got it. Well, we got a couple more questions. All right, here we go. Yep, yep, somebody said, will email be provided? Yes, I will provide the emails for Bounce and Scott. And any more questions? Okay, good question. Will either Bounce or Scott be at Vets 22?
Unfortunately, no. GSA's, I think, travel restrictions just recently got lifted, right, Scott? Just like almost like a couple weeks ago or a month ago. So we're just starting to go out and do travel and things like that. But hopefully, maybe Vets 23 we'll be able to make it out there. So.
Yeah, okay, that's great. So I understand that, but again, GSA, we have some representatives from GSA on the East Coast that will be at Vets 22 this year.
Yeah. Yeah, we're on the left coast, so travel is a little bit more for Scott and I. It's a little bit more daunting.
Yeah.
If you were in Seattle, maybe.
Yeah, we could just drive to you guys. So.
Any other questions? Going once, going twice. Okay. If you have any questions, you can email me and I send them to Bounce and Scott. But again, I'd like to thank them both for waking up early this morning to do this presentation. I don't know if I could wake up that early in the morning to do it. I'll probably be sleeping still. Anyway, again, thank you so much. And for the rest of you, I will hopefully, I will see you all next week at Vets 22. Until then, there'll be no Charlie Mike next week, since we'll be in Florida. So again, thank you, Scott and Bounce. And Rusty, take care, and I'll see you soon.
Thank you very much. Bye, everybody.
Thanks, Earl.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Bye.